So we're missing 3?
Yeah,
Hang on.
Jim, Jenny, Rachel.
We're now streaming. Jim
Okay.
is getting on now. Hey, Jim's joining now.
All right.
And I
see
did-
Jim.
I did text Rachel and Jenny.
Okay, I think we should get going. We're already 6 minutes in, so.
Okay, hang on. Let me start recording here. Okay, Jenny's coming right now.
Okay, looks like we're recording and we're live, right?
Yep, and we got Jenny joining, should be
Yep,
here
I
in a
see
minute.
Jenny popping in, yep. All right, so we're running a few minutes late. Sorry to those who are tuning in live. I think we're ready to get started. I'd like to go ahead and call tonight's meeting to order. We've got one item on the agenda tonight. Do I have a motion to, the item is to approve the proposed learning model change. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Second, Corey.
Motion by Amy, second by Corey. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's move to a roll call vote.
Mr. Black,
Aye.
Miss Seguin,
Aye.
Miss Rosenau,
Aye.
Miss Johnson,
Aye.
Miss Roser,
Aye.
Mr. Gearke.
Aye.
All right, tonight's meeting agenda is approved. As mentioned, there's only one item on the agenda tonight, which is to approve the proposed learning model change, moving grades 6 through 12 from hybrid to in-person, with grades 6, 10, and 12 transitioning the week of February 15th, and grades 7 through 9 transitioning the week of March 1st. Mr. Shane, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love you to give a little bit of background into the decision-making and the meetings that you've had and the discussions that you've had that have led to this recommendation, so we can all hear it as a board, please.
Yes, absolutely. We had our COVID command team meet, I believe 2 weeks ago, just to discuss what would be the logistics in moving forward to a less restrictive model. We also had a meeting with our transition plan team, which is made up of teacher leadership and para leadership, along with our lead principals, our community ed director, our command team as well. And we discussed some options going forward. We actually looked at an option a couple of weeks ago at moving in next week. We thought that that was a little bit of a quick turnaround as far as a time frame. So what we decided to do is to review the data again last week, go through it last week, continue to review it at the beginning of this week. And then this all culminated in a consultation meeting with the Department of Health Tuesday morning. And that's with our regional COVID team. This is the same team that we've been meeting with all year long, going through our transition plans. We had 3 members of our Department of Health that were on that team, as well as our Director of Public Health for Wright County, and including all of the leadership of our teachers and paras that's made up of the transitional team and our COVID command team. We walked through a phased-in approach, as Lisa said, that we proposed that starting the week of February 15th, would be obviously a planning day if necessary on Monday, the 15th. It's already a pre-scheduled professional development day. And then we would be bringing in grade 6 in the intermediate school, and then 3 additional grades in the high school, grades 10, 11, and 12. We're going to continue to closely monitor this. And we want to make sure, because this is the first time that the high school has had grades certain grades all in person. We've started the school year out in hybrid. So this was a big step and is a big step. And we want to be very, very careful. We were reminded of a couple of things from the Department of Health, is to make sure that we do follow our quarantine procedures and our close contact procedures, because we're going to try to lay out the high school to, if there is a close contact, that it affects the smallest number of students and, if any, staff. So we've been trending very good in all of the learning models. We've been trending very well in our elementary, and we have had no school transmission to this point that we know of. We've actually done very well since the 19th, when we've made the transition to go more in person with half of our district. And so the Department of Health gave us their recommendation to accept our proposal. Had a few clarifying questions just to make sure if we've got some backup plans, if necessary, if something does go not in the right direction, but we want to make sure that we do this carefully, we do it safely. We believe we've got the safe schools and the whole learning environment ready to go. We've got people that are going to make some extra mitigation procedures to make sure that we're ready to go. And the key piece is we're just going to monitor this very, very closely. And that's what we've been doing all year long anyways. And we're trending right with our data, trending in a downward trajectory, which is very good news. And so the Department of Health was very comfortable and gave us the thumbs up to move forward with this transition. And it'll be, again, phased in 3 grades in the high school at a time.
So other than, other than a situation where we would have like a significant obvious outbreak, right, in Delano or something, are there other sort of criteria or things that you're looking at that would help make a decision in terms of whether or not we feel like we can continue on this trajectory or should be dialing back, especially between the 1st and the 15th, right? I know we're setting a date for like when that next wave is coming in, but is there other data that we're looking at that we would want to be monitoring to make sure that that 15th is still the right decision for the next phase?
Yeah, the first and foremost data that we're going to keep a close eye on is our school data. We've got kids in all of our buildings right now, and we just want to make sure that we're continuing to trend in the right direction. We're still very, very low in our students that are testing positive. And actually this whole week from last Thursday, we didn't have a staff member test positive. So we're going to keep a very close eye on that. The second data point is our community, just to make sure, if there's not a cluster in, in the nursing home, or if there's a big outbreak in one of the larger companies that we have. Those are the things that we'll keep an eye on. And then the overarching kind of universal look is that county data. And we've been trending very well with our county data over the last more than a month. So those are the data points that we'll look at. But our COVID coordinator is going to keep a very, very close eye on the school data, because we want to make sure that we keep it low and we have it manageable. And we want to make sure that we don't disrupt the learning environment as much as humanly possible. And of course, that's gonna really be a partnership with our parents and our students, because we know throughout this entire school year, people aren't getting the virus in schools. They're potentially getting the virus in the community, and we just got to be safe. We got to be smart. We're following all the rules in the schools, and that's paid off, and we're doing well. But those are the informational points that we're going to keep a close eye on, even up until the 15th. Okay. And if something happens in the 15th, or there's something that happens before that, we will be evaluating it very closely.
And then I also understand as well, in the event of quarantines, which I know there will be some, right? I know that sounds like, based on the way that we're kind of conducting things with stricter seating assignments and things like that, hopefully the quarantine could be a little less impactful than having to quarantine entire classrooms. I know that's almost impossible at the high school level. So But when we do experience the quarantines, the teachers are prepared to continue to do that synchronous learning just like they would for any students who are choosing distance learning for the rest of the year. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. In fact, we have a number of teachers in the high school that already have distance learners in their classrooms that have been distance learners for the entire school year. The key piece is that when we do bring classes up to capacity, we want to make sure that there's strict seating charts, even at lunchtime, because we want to, if there is a student that tests positive, there's a 6-foot parameter around that actual student that potentially could only affect 4 other students around there instead of an entire class, much like what it could be in the elementary. That's what we're doing to make sure to ensure that we have the least amount of impact on students being quarantined. And quite frankly, staff can control that. They don't have to be near their students all the time. That definition of that close contact is a culmination of over 24 hours of 15 minutes within close contact of the student. So obviously, if you're sitting in the classroom next to your partner or your neighbor, that's going to be longer than 15 minutes. But we don't want anybody to be moving around extensively because we want to keep it to a small group of students.
Right, but to be clear, it's 4 people around that student for every class they go to, right? It's not, they don't move with the same kids all day long, so.
That's correct. That's
Okay.
correct.
I'm sorry, Amy, you had a question?
No, that was exactly my question, was in the classroom setting, it's still going to be just the parameter in the classroom. So it's not an entire class.
Right.
That's correct.
So if it's,
But
if it's 4 people around that person in first block, the 4 people in second block, third block, fourth block, or 7th and 8th grade, it's 6 classes potentially, right? That they're talking about there. But it sounds like it's going to be kind of the bubble around them in each of those classes and at lunch, correct?
That's the plan. Yes.
And then buses as well is another thing to consider, right? Who did they sit next to on a bus? So.
Yep.
Hey, Matt.
And buses will still be at 50% capacity until the week of March 1st, when by that time we will have grades 7 through 9 come in. So we'll be all at capacity at that time.
Are they assigned seats there? Sorry, Corey, I knew you had a question.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, I'm changing gears, Amy, so that was a good follow-up. Anyway, Matt, not looking for exact times or dates or anything like that, but will you continue to meet with that command team and some of those experts that you've assembled? Do you meet with them once or twice a month? To Lisa's point, if something pops up in the community, those people will know, they'll be consulting with you on that. How does that work?
Yeah, it'll start with a conversation with our COVID coordinator that will be in constant contact. In fact, our COVID coordinator is just about in close, whenever there's a close contact in the schools, they're in constant communications. We don't have the regional team meet on a regular basis. It's always based on need.
Okay.
So if we do get to a situation where, hey, we've got some serious things to look at, they're going to be ready to meet with us and to give us guidance right away.
Can you pull them in 48 hours or something like that, or as fast as your need is?
I pulled them in 24 hours this time.
Good. Okay, cool. That's a nice tool to have.
Yep.
Matt, can you just explain a little bit more about the reason we went with 10 through 12 versus a different configuration?
Sure. Actually, there were 2 reasons why the high school proposed to move in the 10 through 12. One is we have upperclassmen that we need to make sure that they make graduation requirements. So there might be some students that need some additional support, and to be in person first before the end of the year would be optimal. The second is it's a sheer numbers, because the schedule in 9 through 12 is on a block schedule. So technically what staff members are going to be seeing is approximately about 90 students at the most, depending on class sizes. Where if we brought in grades 7 and 8 at this earlier transitional time period, now we're talking about a student to teacher ratio of 100, maybe 140 or even more. So 2 reasons. One was to get those folks that are closer to the graduation time period within the next few years, within this year. And the other is that they're working with the smaller number throughout the day of students than our 7th and 8th grade teachers.
Thank you.
And
Matt,
the phase,
can you discuss our ability to contact trace, make sure kids have masks on, make sure kids are staying 6 feet apart in school versus not in school?
so our ability in school,
Right. Obviously, if they're in school, we can monitor these things. We know that when they're not in school, we don't know what they're doing. And where are the kids more safe? Where are the kids getting a better education in school?
right? I agree with you, Jim. And that's been our track record throughout the entire year. The school is the safest place. That's where students and everybody that's involved in the buildings are following the rules. They're masked up. The only difference this time, though, is that once we go in person, and for example, on the 15th, the week of the 15th, some of those classes in those 10, 11, 12 grades will not be able to physically distance 6 feet. That's where we're going to have that strict, and that's where the close contact, we want the strict seating to make sure that it only impacts if there is a positive student in that particular class. That's the only mitigation. But again, all of the data is pointing, including the Department of Health officials have said, do the best you can on that, but it's still a safe place to come back at that particular time. So you're right, Jim. I agree. I think we're ready to do this. It's been a long time since we've had our high school students back. If you go all the way back since almost a year ago. And I think we're ready to make this move. We've made all of the precautionary measures and we've got the blessing from the Department of Health.
Yeah, it absolutely sounds like it. And I think, I guess I can't speak for the entire board, but I think we all obviously understand that learning takes place the best obviously in person. And we've been waiting for this all year long and we're all very excited. It's also behooves us just to have you explain a little bit about the process and kind of what we're doing to make sure we're also doing it safely so we don't end up having to go backwards. So totally agree.
Remind me again, what is so they're going to have another prep day. So that week there's a day of no contact and then they go, or can you?
Yeah, Monday, the 15th is already a pre-planned district PD day. So there's no students in the building. There's no teaching it. It's a day for teachers to do some district-wide PD, or they can choose to just prep to plan for the transition.
Okay. Are we going to have a prep then on the 1st? Like, is there another? Okay.
No,
So
this
then
will
it's
be,
just-
they'll just plan it all for this one transition.
Okay.
Matt, Lisa brought up a point about hopefully, right, this is our last learning model change for the year, and I know we can't completely guess what would happen, but I know in past we've talked about, different steps you take if an outbreak does happen impacting one school, the whole school, et cetera. I know you'd mentioned potentially, how would that step back, right? I want to be cognizant that hopefully, right, our hope is that this stays, but if it doesn't, would it all go back distance immediately? Would we step at hybrid? I mean, what are the thoughts that you've had with your team on that?
Yeah, we've talked about it as far as what would be a contingency, and all year long, there's always been the option. There's always been an option that if there is an incident in a school or even at a particular grade level, we could do a 2-week reset. And that'll be contingent upon the Department of Health approving that. If there's an outbreak in a school, we'll immediately safely go to distance learning right away just to make sure, and then monitor and adjust. If it's a 2-week time period, fine. Consult with the Department of Health. If it's a longer time period, fine. We just want to make sure that when we do come back, we don't go backwards again. And that is the hope, is that we don't go backwards. There is also the option of potentially that the Department of Health might say, you know what, you might need to come back gradually, and we go back into hybrid and we just monitor it again. But the name of the game here is to really follow the lead of the Department of Health.
Okay.
How are the staff doing? I know you said you've got some, you feel like the staff are feeling supported in this process to get back and have what they need to do to feel successful?
Yeah, I think that it's a varying degree. And this has been the case when we moved into hybrid at the elementary, and then when we moved back into in-person K-5. There's always going to be a number of folks that are nervous, and rightly so. There's a level of this being anxious, and that should be noted and should be understood that that's the case. I think that when we followed our process that we've been following for every learning model transition, that culminating piece is to really get the direction from the experts in providing a safe learning environment. And so far throughout the course of this pandemic, and the CDC has just come out with newly updated guidelines and stating that schools are a safe place to be able to be in person if we follow our proper mitigation procedures. So you've got the gamut. You've got some staff members are like, yep, I want the kids back. I want to get back into some normalcy. I want to have the kids in the classroom. You've got some staff members that are like, you know, I'm a little concerned. Hopefully we've got some additional procedures that we can still maintain a safe learning environment. And quite frankly, you do have some staff members that are very concerned and not very comfortable. But in order for everybody to be comfortable, all 100%, we'd be in distance learning for a long time. It's just one of those things where you got to look at the data, you got to follow the process, follow the procedure, answer all those questions, make sure that we're all ready to go. And then eventually that's when a recommendation comes to you.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. That's a great point, Sue. I think it's a tough balance for sure, especially considering how slowly this vaccine process seems to be rolling out. I know we were all sort of hoping that we would have higher numbers in that area too, which would help hopefully alleviate some of the concerns from the teachers. But if we at least keep moving in a positive direction on that front, that might help a little bit too with some of it. And I know the testing that's available for teachers has been helpful too, from a peace of mind standpoint, to be able to get the testing they need.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Does any?
No.
All right. Well, thank you for the explanation. Then after all that, I would like to, who would like to make the motion to approve the proposed learning model change, moving grades 6 through 12 from hybrid to in-person, with grades 6 and 10 through 12 transitioning the week of February 15th, and grades 7 through 9 transitioning the week of March 1st.
DEPA can make the motion.
I'll second.
I'll go ahead and second. I beat you to it, Corey. Motion by Deppel, second by Stieglin. Any other discussion on this topic?
No, just a big thank you again, Matt, you and all the staff. This has been quite an experience, to say the least, and I think we're seeing some light, maybe. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like this is almost worthy of a bit of a celebration. It's been a long time coming, and it's going to be quite the sight to see all these kids in the building for the first time in a year, right? Hard to say that. So that's pretty exciting. All right, hearing no other discussion, I'll move for a roll call vote.
Mr. Gearke,
Aye.
Ms. Roser,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
aye.
Ms. Deppa,
Aye.
Ms. Rosenau,
Aye.
Ms. Seguin,
Aye.
Mr. Black.
Aye.
All right, that motion is approved. Thanks everybody for the time. Thank you, Mr. Shane.